They've illuminated major finals for decades. Now they've got to make themselves at home. Holland have the talent to win Euro 2000. Have they got the bottle? 10 out of 10. No nation qualified more convincingly than the Czech Republic. Finalists in '96, they believe they can now go one step further. The first European Championships of the new millennium will be a joint venture, hosted by Holland and Belgium. The Low Country rivals have worked in tandem, determined to put on an unrivalled show. For Holland, who've produced some of the most gifted teams of the modern game, hosting Euro 2000 is a privilege they're determined to enjoy.
I think up to about 5 years ago, people never thought about having a sort of European Championship, or because it was too small. Now that Belgium and Holland are doing it together, I mean, that gives you a chance. I mean, that's got to be, the objective to have a well-organized championship and let everybody see that even two small countries, can organize it very well.
Every European country like to have a tournament like that. Now Holland and Belgium got it. We've got great stadiums, so it's easy to travel with all the people because it's very close. I think, they will be very happy that it is in Holland.
As co-hosts, the Dutch qualified automatically and were seeded. The current team bear all the hallmarks of their ancestors. Technically gifted, attack-minded, with the onus on total football. The early '70s and Johan Cruyff heralded the arrival of the Dutch game. Coached by the visionary Rinus Michels and then inspired by Cruyff, Ajax won the European Cup in '71, '72 and '73. Then came the second generation. When AC Milan won the 1989 and 1990 European Cups, a Dutch trio stole the headlines: Frank Rijkaard, Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten. In 1988 in Germany, they were all instrumental as Holland won their first and only major tournament, the European Championships, captained by Ruud Gullit. Now Rijkaard is the man the Dutch Federation have chosen to lead their national side at Euro 2000. Like so many great Dutch players, Rijkaard's career began at Ajax in 1979, when Cruyff was coach. At just 19, Rijkaard made his international debut. After spells in Portugal and Spain, came his move to Milan, and one of the most commanding figures in the game had found his stage. 6 years later, Rijkaard returned to Ajax, where Holland's third generation of talents were being moulded by Louis van Gaal. Rijkaard was the elder statesman in a side who beat Milan to win the Champions League. Some eyebrows were raised when he was appointed coach after World Cup '98. It was his first job in management. But in Holland, experience isn't the first criteria. Keeping the players happy is much more important.
When he played, he was a brilliant player, so I think he understands the players very well. And he can tell about his own experience, and he can bring it over to these players.
Shrewdly, Rijkaard has surrounded himself with wise old heads. His assistant is another former Dutch master, Johan Neeskens, a talented, rugged midfielder who starred alongside Cruyff in the Dutch side of the '70s. Neeskens was the first man to convert a penalty in a World Cup final, that painful defeat to West Germany in 1974. He's a talismanic figure.
It's quite funny because I played with Rijkaard at Ajax, and Neeskens was one of the best footballers in Holland. And when I was a little boy, I was a great fan of him. So no, I think it's good for the football that those kind of players get involved.
Rijkaard stands on the brink of history. Success, and he would become the first man to win the European Championship as player and coach.
I think that if you look at what the team with Guus Hiddink, former coach, achieved in France, that can give great hope for the future. And I think the most important in this are the players. The players, they have to do it. The players have to be willing and able to do it. And if you look at the selection, then you can say, okay, we have a chance.
Sometimes after a hard day at the office, you just want to get away. But if you're a top international coach, it can prove a little more tricky.
Considering the hype and hope that surrounded his arrival, Frank Rijkaard hasn't quite lived up to his star billing since becoming coach. Things started well enough with a 2-0 home win over Peru in his first game. But then came 18 months and 11 matches and not a single victory. The performances were predictable, rarely inspiring. Holland were held to a 1-1 draw in Amsterdam with Argentina. Then came a 2-1 home defeat by Morocco. And some were beginning to wonder if Rijkaard had a master plan at all. The game that really started the head-shaking was against fellow host Belgium, who had been struggling to score in their friendlies. How that changed in Rotterdam, as home fans witnessed the best and the worst of Dutch football.
And Penza bursting into the centre, Stroepar beyond him. This is Stroepar. Oh, what a goal! Stroepar in the centre, this is Stroepar, and it's a second goal! Davids, oh, it's sneaked in! Oh, it's a super rock too by Davids. He might go all the way here. Edgar Davids, and he has! Fabulous goal! Bergkamp sprinting through the centre, this is Bergkamp. And Kluivert, who will not score an easier goal than this. That's good link-up play. There's a chance here, and a goal too from Gore. Bart Gore. And Penza might be another one here. It is too. Scored by Wilmots. More dithering at the back, which could go punished yet. Oh, whacked in by Kluivert, but dreadful defending by Belgium. Teasing ball in, the marking was slack, and the punishment was dished out again by Kluivert. Can Belgium strike back again? There's the answer. 5-5.
As fragile as they've been, Holland's warm-up performances won't count for much once the European Championships have kicked off. Rijkaard's results shouldn't be analysed too seriously. He has been experimenting with players and with tactics. And in front of their own fanatical support, the Dutch can only raise their game. They'll have to. Their first phase group, world champions France, the Czech Republic and Denmark, is tough. But Holland's squad is a fine mix of artists and artisans. Mark Overmars has frightening pace. Giant centre-back Jaap Stam brings solidity to the defence. The De Boer twins, Frank and Ronald, are hugely versatile, always ready for the big occasion. Up front, Patrick Kluivert is now a world-class striker. A teenage star at Ajax, scorer of the goal that won the '95 European Cup, Kluivert has attracted controversy. Since moving to Barcelona and Van Gaal's Dutch colony, Kluivert's done some growing up. Excellent at World Cup '98, he's ready for the summer's challenge.
I'm feeling very good. I'm training very hard, and I think my game is improving every week.
But who will supply the ammunition, the vision? If fit, the closest thing this team have to Cruyff is the gifted Dennis Bergkamp.
He's a great striker, can make a difference in a game when he's doing fine, so he's one of the best players in the world.
But Holland's attacking seam runs deep, and if selected, the newest Dutch star is primed to take his chance at Euro 2000. Ruud van Nistelrooy is just 23, and for the last 2 seasons his name and goals have dominated Dutch football. Top scorer with PSV Eindhoven, clubs all over Europe are queuing up to sign a striker still unproven at the highest international level. But his finishing, his instinct and his hunger appear natural-born gifts.
I think with the team we have and with the home advantage in Holland playing, I think we can reach the final. But we have to work hard, we have to be concentrated, and let the quality come out, and that's only, you can do that only with hard working.
Hard graft and winning is what Edgar Davids is all about. For the last 2 years, no Dutch player has been more consistent. Nicknamed the Pitbull, Davids provides the drive any top team needs. He too played alongside Rijkaard in the Ajax European Cup winning side of '95, before making the move to Italy. After an awful time at Milan, Davids signed for Juventus, where he's matured alongside the French World Cup stars Zinedine Zidane. His eyesight's improved as well. Special glasses have helped Davids overcome glaucoma. And if the Dutch team have been unconvincing in their build-up games, Davids hasn't. 2 sparkling goals have highlighted his leadership in recent friendlies. The politics and mood swings that saw him sent home in disgrace from Euro '96 are a memory he now hopes to banish by making sure the Dutch, so often undermined by infighting, are united as one. They have the players, they'll be the best supported nation. They're the bookies' favourites. Frankly speaking, everyone expects.
In the first of our look at the Euro 2000 venues, we start with Rotterdam, Europe's biggest port and scene of the final. Nestled amid the cafes in a downbeat part of town where football passions run high is the home of the famous Dutch club with fanatical support, Feyenoord. They call it De Kuip. Translated, it means the tub, and 6 years ago this run-down old ground was splendidly renovated at a cost of $60 million. The club museum tells its story of famous players who've performed here, like Van Hanegem and Cruyff. Feyenoord's European Cup win in 1970 is fondly remembered. And so is Ruud Gullit, another who wore the red and white halved shirt. This is a football hotbed. You couldn't have a more atmospheric setting for a European showpiece.
The last captain to lift the European Championship trophy is now living a new life. Jürgen Klinsmann is enjoying his retirement in Los Angeles. His wife and son now get his full attention, although he still kicks about with LA Galaxy now and again. And the fabulous memory of Euro '96 will live with him forever.
I would say anytime you have the chance to win a trophy, it doesn't matter on which level. Even as a 10-year-old boy and you get a trophy, you want to hold it up and you're totally proud, and that's the same on that level. You're extremely happy and you're proud of your team, you're proud of yourself, and you hope that everybody's proud of you. so it is a wonderful feeling.
Klinsmann's enjoyed success throughout his career. When it comes to predicting the winners of a major tournament, though, he knows the most talented don't always end up winning.
Even if you go now specifically through the teams, through the players and the environment, a tournament is always something different. So even if you think beforehand, okay, they actually have a good chance, they look strong, they have a good side, the question is always how they deal then with the pressure, how they deal with the attention, how they deal with their own expectations, and are they just right in that moment, physically and mentally on the highest level.
Klinsmann's footballing life took him from Germany to England via Italy and France. But he never played in the country that he believes and hopes will come good this summer.
I would guess personally that Holland will be the big favorite for the Euro 2000 title, because they have not only a very strong team at the moment, they also kind of have the self-confidence now to go all the way through a tournament until the end. They were almost there in France '98, and it looks like it's their turn now. And I like Frank Rijkaard, I like his personality, and I really wish him that he's going to be successful with his team.
(1976), a penalty shootout decides the European Championship final between West Germany and the Czech Republic. At 4-4, the Germans miss. Step forward Antonin Panenka for a moment of outrageous cheek. That trophy-winning penalty is still talked about in the Czech Republic to this very day. It was audaciously executed by a player with seemingly ice running through his veins.
I came up with the idea when we were training. Our goalkeeper and I used to stay behind afterwards and practice taking and saving penalties. And to give it a bit of flavour, we'd have a wager on the outcome. So there was always a bet, a beer or some chocolate or something. And because he was a good goalkeeper, I'd always lose. So I said to myself, this is costing you money. You better do something to start winning. I had to think about it one night as I was going to sleep, and I came up with this idea. The goalie would commit himself to dive, and then he'd have no chance.
Guess what? He can still do it. Today, Panenka lives in Prague and is still involved in football. He's the assistant manager at Bohemians, the side he served for most of his career. What Panenka and the rest of the Czech population are hoping for is that the current side can emulate the class of '76 and bring home the European trophy. If the qualifying results are a guide, the Czechs would be among the favourites to lift the trophy. They made history as the first ever team to qualify with maximum points, 10 wins out of 10. Confidence is high, but the qualification group, Scotland apart, was on the softish side, and the hero of old knows we shouldn't be too easily fooled by those results.
The question mark before was, do we have a high-quality team with high-quality leadership? On the other hand, I have to say that our qualification group wasn't the toughest. The strongest opponents in both matches, of course, being the Scots. The real strength of the side won't be apparent until the crunch games towards the end of the championships, when we basically go out against the cream of Europe. It's then we'll finally see how strong the team is.
The Czechs' hardest game was against Scotland, and in the home fixture they had to come back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. The man responsible for the Czech Republic's campaign is Josef Chovanec. The former international took over from Dusan Urin after the failure of the Czechs to reach the last World Cup. Chovanec, who just guided Sparta Prague to the title, was considered one of the boys by the Czech players. He'd lined up alongside some of them in his twilight years as a player with Sparta. As his team gelled on the pitch and pulled out some convincing victories, winning became a very nice habit, and many asked why it all looked so easy.
Tak asi, protože tým, který se připravuje.
Probably because the team now in preparation is hungry for success. In the special circumstances of this long-lasting competition, they've managed to avoid injury and stayed on the right form. When that happens from the outset, when everything clicks, when the coach has the support of the officials around him, everything is bound to look easy from the outside.
The Czechs have some star names. There's the Liverpool pair, Patrick Berger with his blistering shot, and the darting Vladimir Smica. Benfica's Karol Poborski was another who made a name for himself as the Czechs surprised the world by reaching the final of Euro '96. But Berger is the Czechs' most popular player. He's been having his best ever season at Liverpool. Euro '96 opened the floodgates for Czech players to earn lucrative contracts. Pavel Nedvěd took the opportunity to move to Italy. Nedvěd is rated as one of the best midfield men to have come out of the Czech Republic, and at Lazio he's regarded as important as any of the other multi-million-pound stars.
Prague, the Czech Republic's cultural jewel. Once a part of the Roman Empire. Now a trendy, happening centre where they invented the word bohemian. There's the National Theatre, the Charles Bridge, Wenceslas Square. So much to educate the mind, and so much to wash it all down with. No city consumes more beer. Lager is 3 times more popular than all soft drinks combined. When it comes to beer drinking, Prague is top of the league. And win or lose this summer, that's unlikely to change.
The Czechs have a new face this time round who'll be more than a handful for the best defences of Europe. The man mountain that is Jan Koller. The 27-year-old giant plays his club football in Belgium with Anderlecht and was brought in for a friendly against Belgium last year. He scored on his debut and remarkably he's been among the goals in the last 5 qualifying matches. At 6'7", Koller will be the tallest striker in the tournament, but he is exceptionally agile and started off stopping goals, not scoring them.
Up to the age of 17, I used to be in goal, but then I got fed up with it and wanted to score goals instead. That was probably the most decisive thing.
Koller has brought a lot into the team, and for me, he's the number one. I don't mean this as a publicity stunt, because I really think he has done so much for this team in such a short time. He's scored important goals, his character is very good, and he's demonstrated many times that he's an excellent player who belongs in this team.
But they haven't all been champagne moments. Koller was laughed at by the media when he was first selected. Well, they're not laughing now.
First, we were criticised when Jan Koller came in. During those first matches, they almost ridiculed him, playing for his country, and for one simple reason. Here, plenty of media sports writers follow football only over the internet. They have very few personal contacts. They see very few matches abroad with their own eyes. Everything is mediated for them. But we saw Jan Koller for ourselves. We followed him carefully and kept him for ourselves for these qualifiers as a trump card. Our opponents didn't know about him either, and eventually it paid dividends. When Jan joined the team, he was able, through his performances, to raise the performance of the rest of the team.
Koller's strike partner for the Czech Republic is Vladimír Šmajcer. The Liverpool forward, who claims he plays more with his brain than his boots, knows the team's secret. They really are Czech mates, so familiar with each other's game.
I think we have quite a settled team. Several players play for top European clubs, and team responsibilities are spread evenly over more players. One thing you could see in this squad in the course of the qualifiers is that the lineups didn't change much. Every player is doing his bit, and we don't have any real star in the team who could take everything on himself. What's good is that if anyone drops out of the side, there's someone there to take his place.
The Czech record is good. Apart from 2 finals, they boast 2 third-place finishes as well. But this squad isn't yet the finished article.
I think there's a slight problem here, and that's in converting goal chances. There are certain reserves performance to improve on, but basically this is what every team has to contend with. I do think we have a very good ability to switch from defence to rapid counter-attack.
The draw was not kind to the Czechs. They play the hosts and favourites Holland and world champions France. And then there's Denmark, surprise winners 8 years ago. But last time they were pitched in with Germany, Italy and Russia and still made the final. So maybe we should expect the unexpected.
In 1998, France conquered the world and their country fell in love with football. 2 years on, 2 years wiser, Les Bleus aim to make it a European double. So to Denmark, winners in 92. Bo Johansen's built a never-say-die side who wrote a fairy tale of their own just to make it this far.
July the 12th, 1998. French football's moment of glory. A night to remember forever. A A nation that had been lukewarm about the game suddenly went wild as France beat favourites Brazil 3-0 to win the World Cup in a joyous Paris. The scenes were reminiscent of the liberation at the end of the Second World War. Never before had football gripped the French imagination like this.
France's victory was a way of attracting more people, more youngsters to football. It was a patriotic and chauvinistic statement to win the World Cup, something we've tried several times to do, but never succeeded.
Platini was the genius who'd inspired the French to their only previous triumph on a big stage, at the European Championship of 1984. He cherishes the memory.
The greatest moment was lifting the cup. It was the first time France had won anything major. We were the best team at the time, and we won it in France. It was great.
16 years on, Platini's heart beat with pride as his countrymen scored the ultimate triumph. A triumph masterminded by coach Aimé Jacquet, who'd optimistically announced several months before the World Cup that he'd retire as a world champion. Well, he delivered, despite some vicious press criticism of his style. But once the World Cup had been won, Jacquet handed over to his number 2, Roger Lemaire.
There has been a lot of continuity. I think he tried to carry on what Aimé Jacquet was doing and to work the way Aimé did up to the end of the World Cup. It's the same spirit and more or less the same players.
Lemaire took over the reins with one not-so-simple challenge, to qualify for Euro 2000. And with all the World Cup heroes still available, he approached the task in confident mood.
The
players have taken up the challenge of proving that the World Cup win wasn't a one-off. I have every confidence in the World Cup winners. I didn't have to change a winning team.
But when you've won the World Cup, what do you do for an encore? Motivation can be a problem. And the French players, having tasted some vintage champagne, knew that even the qualifiers for Euro 2000 could seem like flat beer by comparison.
We've experienced the greatest moment possible in international football. After that, there's nothing greater to achieve.
It's not easy to motivate yourself all over again, but the professionalism and incredible mental strength of these players means that they can do it.
So how bad was the World Cup hangover? Well, even the bracing air of Iceland couldn't clear it, and France fell behind.
The first match against Iceland was a tough one to start off with. A small nation, small stadium.
France did manage an equaliser, but the stuttering start was not what they'd hoped for.
We really struggled to come away with a draw, so straight away it was a bit of a shock.
Even the visit of international minnows Andorra proved a difficult obstacle. Although France eventually came out 2-0 winners, they struggled to break down the Andorrans, who were ranked 171st in the world. Platini must have wondered if the magic had gone, but the bottom line was that the 3 points were safely pouched, with Djorkaeff getting the second goal. When France took on the Ukraine, no improvement, a draw, and but for the heroics of keeper Fabien Barthez, France could have lost. Zinedine Zidane had to sit out that match with a knee injury. His flair and vision were sadly missed. After France '98, Zizou, as he's known, had become the new national sporting icon. In the World Cup, he missed 2 of the group games after being sent off, but came back to score twice in the World Cup final. Zidane was billed as the new Platini. He grew up amid poverty on the streets of Marseille, but became a footballing millionaire, helping Juventus to the league title and himself to European Footballer of the Year.
Zinedine is a great player who helps all the other players improve their game. He brings out the confidence in everyone.
With Zidane still missing, France suffered their first home defeat in 2 years, losing 3-2 to Russia. The defensive rock on which the World Cup success had been built seemed to have crumbled. Some wondered if Laurent Blanc, Didier Deschamps and Marcel Desailly were fading with age.
Certains joueurs commencent à être un petit peu usés.
Some of the players are getting on a bit. I know they would rather we didn't talk about their age, but it's true some of them are facing the end of their careers.
The defeat cast a real shadow over France's automatic qualification hopes. They were now 3 points behind Ukraine. So as the long, hard post-World Cup season drew to a close, France took on Andorra in Barcelona and was saved from humiliation by a late penalty. With 7 of the World Cup team playing in that game, it seemed they were constantly under pressure, there to be fired at as champions of the world.
The French team hasn't changed, it's our opponents. Everyone wants to beat us, absolutely everyone. It never used to be like this, but now we really are the team to beat, and that's the motivation for us.
France, the world champions, have a weak point. Before the match in Iceland, it all went horribly wrong. The top lip quivered, the composure went, and the Marseillaise turned into a comedy number. Apparently, it had something to do with the Icelandic crooner. Nice outfit, shame about the voice.
Wembley in February last year, and the stage was set for one man to make an impact in the corner of North London he'd made his home. Then at Arsenal, Nicolas Anelka was in superb form for both club and country. That night it seemed that Anelka, who'd been left out of the World Cup squad, had really arrived as an international striker. Was he the final piece in the French jigsaw? But the moody, complicated Anelka has been dubbed the Incredible Sulk, both at Arsenal and now at Real Madrid, where the club recently banned him for 45 days.
He's changed countries twice in 2 years. It's difficult to get used to the language change from English to Spanish and the cultural changes too. I prefer to be left alone in peace and not talked about.
So if Anelka can get back to form in time, he could provide the missing firepower for France. But Roger Lemaire does have his options. Sylvain Wiltord, who made his debut for France against England, was top scorer last season with 22 goals. He was the catalyst behind Bordeaux's title-winning campaign. Other players such as David Trezeguet and Stéphane Guivarc'h have been prolific for their clubs, but have often struggled after pulling on the blue national team shirt. And with France's defence having shown recent signs of faltering, they'll be all the more reliant on their strike force this summer. So to the climax of France's qualifying campaign. When they met Iceland at the Stade de France last October, the players knew their mission. France had to win and hope for a draw in the game between Russia and group leaders Ukraine, taking place simultaneously in Moscow. Anything less would mean at best a playoff or quite simply elimination from the tournament for the reigning world champions.
Yuri Djokovic with a free kick then for France. Oh, it's gone in, it's an own goal from Dennison. And France have the lead. Now Lizarazu. Linking with Djokovic, who's dropped off here. And Wiltord, and Djokovic wriggling through, and has scored. Yuri Djokovic for France. As it stands at the moment, they are through as group winners. Here's Ayoflor Sverrisson. Oh, that's a super strike, and Iceland have scored. 2-1. On then to Gunnarsson. There could be more problems for France here. It's 2-2. As it stands now, France are eliminated. Ukraine would win the group and Russia would be in the playoffs. France need another goal. Zinedine Zidane with the corner. Shot to Wiltor. Zidane again. Oh, the keeper's lost it and it's there! Trezeguet! In Moscow, Russia have scored. Valery Karpin. Russia will win the group and France are in the playoffs if it stays this way. Shevchenko, we're hearing, is France's saviour in Russia, equalising for the Ukraine with 2 minutes to go. France back in top position in the group. Such a nervous time for the French team and their coach. Not to mention the 78,000 spectators. While 4 minutes of extra time are played in Moscow. It's finished 1-1, so France have clawed their way through and booked their ticket to Holland and Belgium. Amazing seats.
L'équipe de France a été soulagée. Tous nous avons été soulagés.
We were all so relieved. Me more than most, I suppose. I just couldn't believe it really was all over.
So France take their place at Euro 2000 after a nervous and to some extent unconvincing qualification.
France suffered a lot, like many teams, but they got through thanks to the draw between Ukraine and Russia. It was never going to be easy for France after the World Cup. It's just good that we're there.
1998 was magical, but do France have that je ne sais quoi to be European champions as well?
The Jan Bredel Stadium in Bruges will host 3 group games and a quarter-final. A 30,000 all-seater venue, it was only built in 1975, but it's a genuine football arena and it staged some memorable games. Most of them involving Club Bruges, Belgian champions 11 times, and the traditional rivals to Anderlecht of Brussels. Bruges the town is the very delightful ornament in the province of Flanders. It's not hard to see why it's also the most popular tourist destination in Belgium. A medieval centre between the 13th and 15th centuries, it remains an unspoilt, tranquil oasis, wisely protected from industry and big business. That's left to Brussels. This summer, Bruges' special guests will be world champions France, apparently rather pleased to be playing 2 of their group games in this most cultural of settings.
A tournament on the scale of Euro 2000 needs meticulous preparation to be a success. Tickets must be issued, security arranged, and accommodation sorted out, among so many things. The Euro 2000 Foundation was set up to organise the event in Holland and Belgium. Alain Courtois is the tournament director.
We have a joint venture operation, and we have to demonstrate to all the opinion in the world that it's possible, that 2 small countries can organize something, and that 2 countries together can organize something. It's a target for me, it's a target for the organizing committee, it's a target for everybody and for the 2 associations. And it will be a success.
The committee has been hard at work for 4 years, and now they're about to see the fruits of their labour.
We want that everybody going home after Euro 2000 can say, we had a good time, we saw good football, we had good hospitality, we get good security. It remains for all of us a souvenir of a fiesta from football.
It was one of the great fairy tales in football history. In 1992, after a late call-up to replace Yugoslavia, Denmark were crowned European champions. Coach Richard Muller-Nielsen and his players cancelled their summer holidays, arrived in Sweden and beat the best.
When we came, we thought we were going to have 3 games and then a bath and then go back to the holiday again. But after each game, we thought that we can surprise here. And when we came to the semi-final, I thought, okay, we have done it enough already. But we just went out and enjoyed ourselves. And suddenly we're in the final. And then came my best goal in my career. And after that, we just celebrate that we have won the World Cup.
There's rarely been a party like it, but there was a hangover. Denmark failed to qualify for USA 94 and left early at Euro 96. In France, they surprised many, reaching the quarter-finals and losing narrowly to Brazil, a fine achievement for Swedish coach Bo Johansson. But that defeat marked the end for the two Danish princes. Michael Laudrup, who missed the Euro 92 success, decided to retire. Via Brøndby, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid and Ajax, he became Denmark's greatest ever player. His younger brother Brian gained 82 caps, and at 31 he was approached by Johansson to stay with the national team for Euro 2000, an offer he chose to decline.
Of course, the problem with the Laudrup brothers when they stopped, because they have special qualities for sure. No one have the same kind of qualities as Brian and Michael had.
The double departure marked the end of an era in Danish football. The question on everyone's lips was, could Denmark cope in the post-Laudrup era? After being held 0-0 in their opening qualifier in Belarus, Denmark hosted Wales in Copenhagen. A capacity crowd was sitting comfortably. Denmark took the lead through Søren Frederiksen. But a minute later, Wales equalised, thanks to a real blooper from the Danish stand-in keeper Krogh. Adrian Williams' header somehow squeezed under Krogh and over the line. In slow motion, it doesn't get any better. Even worse, 4 minutes from time, Craig Bellamy headed Wales' winner. The result left Johansson and the injured Peter Schmeichel stunned. The coach was open to deep criticism. Even without the Laudrups, Denmark's passionate fans had expected better than this.
Yeah, I think it was a shock because we played much better than Wales, to be honest. We had a couple of good chances as well, but that was just one of those days. The ball couldn't get in.
Nothing changed at home to Italy, the group favourites. Denmark's newest prodigy, the gifted Jesper Grønkjær, was making his debut. He had a nightmare. In the very first minute, Grønkjær's back pass was short and anticipated by Filippo Inzaghi, who didn't waste the chance. For once, after conceding a goal, Schmeichel went for the softly approach and tried to rally his team. But there would be no reversing another home defeat. 4 games, just 2 points gained. Qualifying would now take an effort almost on a par with Euro 92.
We have to win. We have to get 10 points in the last 4 games. And it's also not impossible, but yeah, it's difficult now.
After 4 games, we were out more or less. I mean, we should win all the other 4 with Italy away and Wales away and so on. And even there, it was not sure that we should qualify. So of course it looked not very good.
The Danish FA didn't panic, and Johansson was about to find a way of coping without the influence of the Laudrups.
In the first qualification games, we missed them a lot, and we could see that from the results. We played very good football, but we missed the magic of the Laudrup brothers. But when the qualification went on, we got better and better, and we found some very, very good substitutes for them.
Grønkjær managed to put that first game blunder behind him. His form for Ajax was earning him comparisons with the greats.
He is a fantastic, talented player, and he got a little bit the same as Brian Laudrup. He's incredibly fast with the ball, and he's very, very good at taking players on one-on-one.
At 23, the much-admired Grønkjær aims to enhance his reputation this summer.
Quiz question for you. Which former Danish international was born in Vienna? Was it Michael Laudrup, his brother Brian, or John Jensen? And the answer is Brian Laudrup. So how did Austria miss him?
If there was a key to Denmark's turnaround in fortunes in the second half of the qualifying campaign, it was Johansson's shrewd mix of experience and youth. Qualifying saw the development of 24-year-old wing-back Martin Jorgensen and 23-year-old striker John Dahl Tomasson. Like Gronkjar, they were beginning to adapt to the international game.
All three of them are former under-21 players, so they will hopefully improve a lot. So we hope they will make the team better.
In Denmark's 1-0 win over Belarus, the first of 4 consecutive victories, it was veteran Jan Heinze who was the hero, scoring only his second goal in 59 internationals. At home to Switzerland, another experienced player, midfielder Allan Nielsen, scored Denmark's first goal. It still needed John Dahl Tomasson to pinch a late winner to keep Denmark's hopes of the playoffs intact. All that remained was a trip to Italy, a match from which the Danes looked certain to get absolutely nothing.
We played very, very good in the first half in Italy, and like you say, we were 2-0 down, and luckily we scored on a penalty just 2-3 minutes before half-time. We played a fantastic second half, maybe one of the best games that Denmark ever played.
It was a brilliant comeback, and a 3-2 victory earned Denmark their playoff chance. And how they took it. Israel were demolished by a nation that hadn't felt this good since that heady summer of '92. 8-0 to Denmark on aggregate. Qualification capped an incredible year for the only survivor of Euro '92, goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel. 1999 saw him claim an historic treble with Manchester United and captain them to a dramatic success in the European Cup final. Now at Sporting Lisbon, Schmeichel is as fit and content as he's ever been. He's 37. His presence is crucial to Denmark's performance. An international since 1988, he recently overtook Morten Olsen's record haul of 102 caps.
Peters is the experienced guy and the captain of the team, and he is fantastic in many, many ways. We have also a new goalkeeper, Thomas Sørensen from Sunderland, and he will do fine in the future. So the goalkeeper side is very positive for us.
Schmeichel may continue, but whatever happens at Euro 2000, Johansson will step down once the tournament's over. He'll be replaced by Morten Olsen, with Michael Laudrup his assistant. The M&M partnership has been dubbed Denmark's dream team, with more than 200 caps between them.
I think it's going to be the most exciting manager and trainer partnership. Morten Olsen has got a lot of experience, Michael Laudrup as well. They're going to be one of the 2 best players we have in the country when they played. And these 2 players can definitely raise Denmark higher what they are at the moment.
What legacy will Johansson leave? It's Denmark's 5th successive appearance in the finals. Their group is the only one which contains 4 previous champions of Europe. It looks tough.
I think actually it's quite good for us because Denmark has proven before when everybody, think that okay, Denmark have no chance here, then normally we make the best results. And I don't think it's bad for us that we get the world champions and we got the host and the Czech Republic as maybe one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. So nobody will believe that Denmark have a chance to go through. And when it's like that, then normally we make the best results.
Even if they did squeeze through the side door, Denmark aren't grateful to be at the finals. As any student of the European Championship knows, this is a nation you never write off. Italy always qualify, but have the Azzurri still got what it takes? The last time they won a major trophy, their coach was the captain. It's only Turkey's 2nd major finals. Europe's most fanatical fans are mad for it. They expect their team to do more than just make up the numbers. Football and Italy are synonymous. Nowhere is the business of football taken more seriously. People are addicted to it. Captains of industry invest in it. Media mogul Silvio Berlusconi's rise to Prime Minister was aided by his ownership of Milan. The Italian Serie A is consistently the best in the world. It can attract the best talent, pay the best wages. This summer, Christian Vieri moved from Lazio to Inter for a record $48 million. And the best league usually means the best teams. Between 1989 and 95, at least 2 Italian clubs made it to the finals of the 3 major European competitions. The Italian national side rank only behind Brazil when it comes to achievement. Italy have won the World Cup 3 times and the European Championship once in 1968. The man who lifted the trophy then after victory over Yugoslavia was Giacinto Facchetti, captain of his country on 94 occasions. That success, he says, was a turning point.
Since 1938, Italy had not won any world or European competition, and therefore it seemed Italian football was suffering at a low level. Therefore, winning the '68 European Championships proved Italian football was still competitive at a European level.
One of Facchetti's teammates that day was goalkeeper Dino Zoff. The former Napoli and Juventus legend now has the task of guiding Italy to their 2nd European title as coach. Super fit and nerveless, Dino Zoff became Italy's most capped player with 112 appearances. His 106th was the 1982 World Cup final, when Italy beat West Germany.
The
1982 victory was a tremendous experience. There's nothing like the World Cup. There's no other international competition to compare with it. I've never won any European club competitions, but I do think that the World Cup is a top trophy a player can win.
After his playing days, Zoff turned to coaching. He won the 1990 UEFA Cup with Juventus, before masterminding Lazio, first as coach, then as club president. It was after the sacking of Cesare Maldini in the summer of '98 that the Italian Federation turned to their former golden boy. His first job was to ensure qualification for Euro 2000. The opening game was away in Cardiff against Wales. Gifted an opening goal for Diego Fuser, Zoff's side settled quickly and outclassed their opponents. Christian Vieri's individual skill did the rest. It got better. A 2-0 home win over Switzerland set Italy up perfectly for what looked the toughest match in their group, the away trip to Denmark. The Danish team were not living up to their notoriously vocal support. Denmark had failed to win in their opening 3 games. It was imperative they get something against the Italians.
Brunchiaia. He's given the ball to Inzaghi, and Inzaghi round Schmeichel, and they've scored! Brilliant skill. Danger here. Yes, turn one way, then the other, it's a goal! They've scored again! And there is the final whistle. Delight and celebrations for Italy.
The crucial game was against Denmark. We won it and I scored in that one, so it's a game I remember with pleasure.
But 4 days later, in front of their own fans, Italy were awful against Belarus, drawing 0-0. It was a campaign of 2 halves. A 4-0 victory over Wales was the last match Italy won. A 0-0 draw in Switzerland was followed by a terrible night in Naples. Italy went 2 up, but in a fashion alien to great Italian sides of the past, they succumbed 3-2.
Our worst moment in the qualifiers was at home against Denmark. We thought we would celebrate our qualification, but we had to postpone the party for a month.
A 0-0 draw in their final game in Belarus was enough to clinch qualification as group winners, but just a point ahead of Denmark. Italy had stumbled to Euro 2000, not sauntered.
We managed to qualify after some good games and others that were not so good. But we reached our goal, we're in the finals, and that is the most important thing.
Italy's coach Dino Zoff is used to dealing with expensive players. After all, his Lazio team were the first in Serie A to float on the stock exchange, and Zoff's own credit rating will soar if he can pilot Italy to victory in Euro 2000.
Nowhere in world football does money talk quite like in Italy. The most coveted commodity is a striker who was born in Australia to Italian parents and who ended up costing Inter $48 million. Powerful, quick, impossible to intimidate, Christian Vieri is the world's most expensive player. His club success has been limited by his 4 big money transfers in the last 4 seasons. Yet for Italy, he's a crucial presence.
Vieri is one of the 3 most deadly hitmen in the world. He's a vital player for both Italy and Inter Milan.
Who plays alongside Vieri is Zoff's biggest dilemma. He's spoilt for choice. Filippo Inzaghi of Juventus scored 3 times in the qualifiers. He's a natural-born goal poacher. As is Fiorentina's Enrico Chiesa, but a place on the bench could be his best bet. Roma's Francesco Totti is the rising star of Serie A. But the purest vote would be Alessandro Del Piero. Gifted as much as a goal maker, his repertoire is broader than any other Italian striker. However, a serious knee injury interrupted his career and forced him to watch most of the qualifying campaign. Del Piero returned at the start of the season, but has yet to really convince some he's the same elusive, quick, visionary talent.
The return of a fit Del Piero would have a dramatic effect on our squad. We know what he's capable of because we've seen it in the past. A fit Del Piero would be incredibly important.
Zoff's defence has a typically solid, experienced look. Gianluigi Buffon is the first-choice keeper. In defence, per many 4 from Christian Panucci, Fabio Cannavaro, Demetrio Albertini, Alessandro Nesta, and of course the Milan veteran Paolo Maldini.
The most important men for Italy are going to be Cannavaro and Nesta. They, with the goalkeeper Buffon, make up the strongest defensive line in Europe today.
In midfield, the options aren't so good. There's no real playmaker and leader. Roberto Baggio, the talisman at the last 2 World Cup finals, is a diminishing force at Inter, and Zoff is unlikely to turn to football's most famous Buddhist for one last fling. Italian fans were ecstatic about the draw for the finals. Belgium are the seeded team everyone wanted. Turkey and Sweden are not among the bookies' favourites. Zoff says it's not quite that simple.
I don't think the group is as easy as they do here in Italy. We're talking about nations that have defeated our teams at club level. Think of the Turks. The Italian champions Milan and Bologna have lost to them. We play Belgium, which is a host country, and they defeated us here in Italy recently. It's a decent side. Sweden is a team that qualified ahead of England in their qualifying pool. In the last 2 years, they have done great things.
Awesome or awful? Italy will be among the favourites, but in recent years they've failed to live up to that billing. Their last triumph was that World Cup success when Zoff was still playing. Some believe he still doesn't know his best 11 players. So this summer, can the sum of Italy's parts equal the great expectations of a football-mad country?
We have a strong group of players, and we are going to give all to win the title. It's not going to be easy, but we shall try.
Until now, football has always had its legends. Johan Cruyff, Diego Maradona, Michel Platini and Pelé, but But who at Euro 2000 can join the greats?
There are a lot of great players. Beckham is one of them. He has a great touch of the ball, although he doesn't score that many goals. I like Raúl. He's playing very well at the moment. Raúl is a more out-and-out striker, technically very talented. And then there's Owen, the young lad from England. There's Davids, the Dutch midfielder. He's playing very well. There are so many good players.
So will one of these four take the step from very good player to world superstar this summer?
The gentrified locals may not like it, but for football fans across Europe, Amsterdam is almost certain to be the focal point this summer. Its canal chic, bohemian cafes and round-the-clock culture attract millions of tourists each year, and the travelling supporters will not want to miss out. Many will already have been to the city's newest attraction, the futuristic Amsterdam Arena, that now houses Ajax, Holland's most famous club. With its retractable roof and 51,000 seats, the arena opened 4 years ago. The Ajax legend and Dutch coach Frank Rijkaard did the honours. But Ajax are yet to make themselves really at home. Problems with the pitch haven't helped. Holland will play their games in Rotterdam. That's where they'll stage the final. But Amsterdammers do get a semi, and if it rains, they can always close the roof.
Turkey is the land where east meets west. The capital, Istanbul, stands on the breathtaking Bosphorus. But behind the serenity, a football explosion is happening. This is a country where passions for the game are aflame.
Mobile phone!
These supporters deserve a successful national side.
It's the way of life in Turkey, football. And people sleeps with football and wakes up with football.
In our country, in the sporting field, it's only football that inspires passion in that way. So there's incredible interest in football. It comes before everything else, and everyone wants to be a footballer.
The three main clubs are all based in the capital, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce and Beşiktaş. The fierce rivalry between them makes the domestic league a fiery, exciting competition, and Galatasaray in particular have notched up some notable performances in Europe. It's no surprise then that virtually the whole national side is made up of players from the big three. When Turkey qualified for Euro 96 under coach Fatih Terim, they had impromptu street parties to celebrate the end of 42 years in the football wilderness. Not so much a game, you see, more a religion. These same fans brought a real splash of colour to the tournament in England, but the team lost all three matches. They failed to score a single goal. Then, despite this fanatical support, they crashed out of the World Cup at the qualifying stage. A new coach was appointed, Mustafa Denizli, a former international player himself. Could he bring about a revival and prevent the fall of Turkish football? Things started to change as Euro 2000 qualification began with a win over Northern Ireland amid great excitement.
Oktay gidiyor. Oktay bastı, kaleciyle karşı karşıya. Gol! 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 Gol!
But now came the big test. European champions Germany.
Ceza sahasının ortasına doğru Oliver Kahn. Sıçradı, kale bomboş. Oktay çevirdi, arka kafayla geldi.
First of all, from that 1-0 game, I remember the goal I scored. It was a bit of a lucky goal, but that's what I remember firstly.
Of course, I remember the atmosphere in Bursa. There was a fantastic atmosphere, especially when you're playing a strong opponent. And after that, I remember the scenes that followed the game.
4 days after that euphoric win, Turkey were jolted back to reality with a humiliating 3-1 defeat at home to Finland. Now they had to regroup and show that this was just an aberration on the rebound from one of their greatest ever victories. The next 3 games saw the Turks pick up maximum points with victories over Moldova, Finland and Northern Ireland.
The most important match for us was the away match in Finland. This is because the 3 points we got there kept us on top of the group and kept us above the Finns. In that match, we practically guaranteed second spot.
But football was put in its proper perspective by the disaster which rocked Turkey on August the 17th last year. At 3 a.m, an earthquake measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale devastated the nation. The epicenter was near the industrial town of Izmit, but the effects were felt up to 200 miles away. 17,000 people perished. As the rebuilding began, football provided a way to lift the spirits of a depressed people. The players showed their respects at the next away game in Moldova. But the nation's subdued mood was reflected in the performance. Turkey came away with just a point when they really needed to win. They'd given the initiative to Germany with just a game to go. The table coming into that final match showed what Turkey had to do. A win in Germany and they'd qualify automatically. Anything else and they were in the playoffs. Nil-nil meant that Turkey were in the playoffs, where they were drawn against the Republic of Ireland. In Dublin, keeper Rustu Rekbal was in brilliant form. But after holding out for 78 minutes, Turkey finally conceded a goal. Ireland's young striker Robbie Keane breaking the deadlock. But an error by Lee Carsley gifted Turkey a crucial penalty. Taper kept his nerve. Turkey had the away goal they so badly craved, and it turned out to be vital as the second leg ended goalless. Turkey were into Euro 2000 on the away goal rule.
In particular, the first match against Ireland was very difficult for us. Ireland, like Turkey, are an unlucky team. Ireland are a team that had a right to be in the finals. But the most important thing for us in the first playoff match was to score an away goal, and we achieved it. In the second match in Turkey, Ireland concerned us in the first half, but in the second half the result could have been different, perhaps 5 or 6-0. Both playoff matches were very good games.
If the Turkish football team will dominate this summer's backpage headlines, the country's traditional sport will still get a mention. Yağlı Gulreş is wrestling Turkish style. It's no WWF stunted circus act, this, but the real thing. The wrestlers cover themselves in oil and then get to grips with each other. It's a slippery business, and rather like marking Hakan Şükür, easier said than done.
The Turkish players may not be familiar faces to the fans in Europe, but that's mainly because they all play in Turkey. But they are a very decent side.
For the last 3 years, we have hardly changed our squad. We have very good players. For example, Rusty, Alpay, Abdullah, Hakan and Sergen are in the squad all the time. Of course, all our players are very important, but I'm referring here to the players who are permanently in our squad. Players such as Teyfur, I mean all of them, Okan, Arif. They're indispensable players for our team. I believe that we will have great results with these players.
The cult hero of the Turkish side is Hakan Suka, a tall British-style centre-forward who's idolised by the fans. At Galatasaray, he was the league's top scorer in 97, 98 and 99, and he believes Turkey deserve respect.
Football's a game full of surprises. If we get out of the first stage and into the quarter-finals, it will be considered a surprise. But we are aiming to do just that. After we get through the first stage, we could do really well with the excitement and so on. The result that would really delight us would be winning the cup, but that's a dream probably. Although it's a dream we can help make a reality, if we fight hard, there is nothing we can't achieve.
The Turkish players know that Hakan Suka will lead by example from the front.
Hakan Suka's most effective qualities are his aerial ability and his non-stop running. So his great ability in the air and his great work rate. On top of that, he's an excellent goal scorer for Turkey.
Sergen may be Turkey's most skillful player, but he's also their most controversial. He's notorious in his homeland for falling out with his clubs. His contract is currently owned by a third division side who also act as his agents, and they've loaned him to Galatasaray. Sergen is hoping that Euro 2000 will be his shop window with an eye to a lucrative move.
Well, I'm definitely expecting to give a really good performance, to be honest, because it's a very good stage in terms of transfer opportunities. So, of course, I'm aiming to perform really well, to be successful, and to get a good transfer offer.
Another midfielder hoping to impress at Euro 2000 is Okan, the stocky right winger who's only 5'5", was part of the Turkish side that won the 1992 Under-18 European Championship. Okan's a great crosser and scores goals from midfield.
Of course, it's a dream for all Turks to play for a good team and to play for the national team. Whatever age you start playing football, this is your ultimate goal. And it was a goal for me too. And when you reach that goal, you're really happy. But the important thing is to keep going and stay in the public eye. You must wear your Turkish shirt with pride and give your very best when you're wearing it.
There could be a completely new face in the Turkish lineup this summer. English-born Mustafa, or Muzzy Izzet as he's known, has recently announced his desire to play for the Turkish national side. Izzet, who plays for Premier League club Leicester City, has a Turkish father and so is eligible to play for his country. His experience against top-class international players may persuade the coach to use this elegant yet hard-working midfielder who has a penchant for scoring vital goals. The Turks have a chance of qualifying. Italy will be tough, but they may feel that Belgium and Sweden are both beatable.
For us, the most important match is the opening one against Italy. That will be a start for us, and the result we get there will show how it's going to go. It's really important to get off to a good start in the first game, and after that, we can start to gain confidence.
You wouldn't want to wager much money on unpredictable Turkey, but even if they fail, bet on this. The fans will have a great street party anyway.
They're putting on the show, but have Belgium got a team to compete? A new coach has put some of the bites back into the Red Devils. Now comes the hard part. And the yellow and blue brick wall. Sweden's defence was rock solid on the road to Benelux. All for one. They aim to keep it that way.
The people of Belgium haven't had much to shout about. Their team is perceived as grey and workmanlike, and even with home advantage as co-hosts, no one's getting that excited about their chances. Belgium's glory days of 1986 are long gone. This side look a shadow of the team that went all the way to the World Cup semi-finals that year before losing to the winners Argentina. At France 98, the Belgians drew all of their group games, and their failure to beat unfancied South Korea sent them on an early trip back across the border to a less than rapturous reception. Predictably, the fans called for the head of coach George Lakens. His relations with some key players had broken down. He was seen as affable, but desperately indecisive. On top of that, some of Belgium's old guard were disappearing off stage. Enzo Schifo retired from internationals after the World Cup. So no more, it seems, of the maverick midfield man whose skills illuminated many a dull game. Striker Luc Nillis was another to wave goodbye to the international scene in another apparent rift with the coach. And Frankie van der Elst, a pillar of the Belgian defence for a decade, finally hung up his boots after being persuaded back for one last hurrah at the World Cup. That leaves Belgium with a shortage of proven international quality players. The shortcomings were reflected in a dismal 11-match run in which Belgium failed to beat Luxembourg and were beaten at home by the likes of Egypt and Finland. Lakens had to go. It was Robert Wassage who was given the job of giving the Red Devils some fire.
It was definitely worrying. We were caught in a downward spiral.
Wassage is Belgium's first French-speaking coach. He's very experienced, having won a Belgian Cup, and he took Standard Liège to runners-up spot in the league.
He's a man who has worked and had success in the north of the country, at Winterslag and Lokeren. He's bilingual, his accent in Flemish isn't perfect, but he can express himself perfectly. I think with his experience, he'll bring order and calmness.
The new coach believes that the disappointing downturn in Belgian football stems from a problem at club level in the country. The top teams have struggled to make a mark in European club competitions. Champions Genk failed to qualify for the Champions League, and Anderlecht didn't progress further than the second round of the UEFA Cup.
The way things are with the increased freedom of movement for players, if you do not have large financial means, your clubs will not be able to stay at the top. The proof of this is our teams are finding it difficult to get a place in the Champions League. And for the past 2 or 3 years, we've missed the boat.
But the Belgian league has provided plenty of adventurous football this season, with over 3.5 goals a game, far higher than in England or Germany. This thrilling match between Westerlo and Genk ended up an amazing 6-6. No surprise then that the defence is something that needs improvement at national team level too.
We have the worst defence in many years. In football you have to build on the base, and the base really is the defence.
A point underlined in Wassage's first amazing game in charge of the team. Just 2 weeks after his appointment, they met Holland in Rotterdam. Result was 5-5. There were some positive attacking ideas to please the new coach, but further defensive weaknesses which would require attention. All in all, though, a drastic improvement on the results under Lakens, and perhaps a ray of light for the future.
We had to find out what was missing from our World Cup campaign. That's what we and the Football Federation are trying to do. I hope we can achieve great things under Mr. Wassage.
Lakens experimented with 70 players in 2.5 years. Wassage is less inclined to pick the latest starlet touted by the newspapers. So his key men?
They are naturally the more experienced players in the team. Lorenzo Stalins at the back and Mark Wilmots up front.
Wilmots is an impressive midfielder currently playing for Schalke in the Bundesliga. Belgium's captain is highly respected by manager and teammates alike.
He's a really established player who plays abroad and has proved at both European and international level that he's a player who deserves his place in the national team. He communicates well and is a player a lot of the squad can relate to.
The experienced Lorenzo Starlens is the most capped current Belgian player. This year he became the oldest player ever to win the Belgian Footballer of the Year award, just short of his 36th birthday. His concession to age is a move from midfield to defence. The energetic Johan Walam is one of the many Belgians playing abroad, in his case at Parma in Serie A. Tony Bronio has been banging in plenty of goals for Westerlo in the Belgian league. In fact, Wasage has a wealth of ammunition up front to call upon. The Impenza brothers played together at Mouscron and Standard Liège. They're pacey and dangerous when in the mood. Umbo now plays for Portuguese club Sporting Lisbon and has been split from his brother Emil, who recently moved to Bundesliga club Schalke for a Belgian record of $8 million. But he's more than just a goal scorer.
I'm known more for my deep crosses from wide. That's my main strength. I'm working on improving my short passing game, but my crosses from the wing are my trademark.
They say the Belgian game is lacking star quality. It didn't when Genk played Bruges. He's quick, he's good with both feet, and he's cocky. Can't play for the team.
These past few years have seen a line of Croats who've made their mark in the Belgian league. Mario Stanic, Robert Spihar, and Josip Weber of Cercle Bruges, who was the leading scorer for 3 consecutive years. He's now a Belgian citizen. The latest Croatian to take Belgium by storm is Branko Strupa. He arrived in Belgium from Croatia's second division and within 2 seasons helped Genk into the top flight. His goals led Genk to runners-up position in 1998. Strupa scored a total of 120 goals in 5 seasons with the club, and his 19 goals last season were rewarded with a Belgian Championship medal and the Golden Boot Award. Despite his outstanding form, there was no call-up for the Croatian national team. So, having lived in Belgium for 5 years, he followed the example of Weber and took up Belgian citizenship. In his first 5 games for his new country, he scored 4 goals in the style of a striker to the manner born. Strupa scored with this sumptuous volley in that 5-all draw with Holland. Then he came up with a deft goal-scoring header in the same match. Strupa's fan club was growing when he scored a cracker in the 4-0 win over Morocco. He was now a proud member of the Belgian side, and another impressive display followed against England alongside the experienced Gilles de Bilder. It was Strupa who finished off an outstanding move in this match, but Belgium lost it 2-1. A move to England and Derby County followed, and he can't wait for Euro 2000.
Of course, it's a big, big show, and it's a good thing for our country to be its host.
As co-hosts, Belgium were seeded in the draw and so avoided the big guns like Holland, Germany and Spain. but their path to the last 8 still resembles a potential minefield. They kick off the tournament against miserly Sweden on June the 10th. Then come group favourites Italy, so the pressure could be on by the time they face improving Turkey. Their most experienced player knows how they should approach the campaign.
We don't have the talent of the national team of Holland, but I think we can prove something else.
Maybe he's right. Recent results include a 3-1 win in Italy, and the new coach believes Belgium will not fluff their lines.
It focuses attention on us, so it leaves memories in everyone's minds of us and our players. We will co-organise a big event of a high standard because the final stages of the European Championship are one of the best in world football.
In Bulgaria, the Euro 2000 qualifiers won't be remembered for much, apart from the day a nation said goodbye to its greatest player. In June '99, Hristo Stoichkov played his 83rd and last international. Fittingly, Johan Cruyff was among those in Sofia to pay homage. Cruyff was coach at Barcelona when Stoichkov played his best football. In '92, Barcelona won their first and only European Cup. In '94, Stoichkov was named World Player of the Year after inspiring his country to 4th at the World Cup finals. Back home, he was famous and rich enough to open his own bank. A wandering talent, there was always something of the gypsy about him. Such is his popularity, he's certain to coach the Bulgarian team if he wants the job. Stoichkov will be sorely missed at Euro 2000. In Bulgaria, there'll never be another one like him.
It's too much to say that the Bulgarian national team will stop existing if Stoichkov is not in it anymore. There are good young Bulgarian players coming through. Youngsters who are just entering the great game of football. I just hope they can shake off that shock very soon.
This is where the gates open on Euro 2000, the King Baudouin Stadium in Brussels. The co-host Belgium will play all their 3 group games here. 15 years have passed since the Heysel Stadium tragedy, which killed 39 fans and left questions against Belgian football officials. This time, everything must be right. The stadium has been smartly renovated. But there's more than just football to enjoy in Brussels. Some of the architecture is stunning. And this year, Brussels is designated a European City of Culture. It is, in short, a very civilized place. Headquarters, of course, for the European Parliament. Oh, and eating out in Brussels is a treat. And with a quarter and semi-final here too, the football won't be bad either.
Stockholm, September 1998. The road to Benelux begins for a nation who had never qualified for a European Championship finals. Sweden did reach the semi-finals in '92, but they were the hosts. Reaching Euro 2000 would require a true team effort and upsetting one of Europe's most powerful teams, England. At the World Cup in France 2 months earlier, Glenn Hoddle's side had impressed. They were the favourites. Stockholm was their first destination, and Sweden were ready. Tommy Soderberg's team could have fallen apart after conceding a goal inside 90 seconds. Instead, a packed Rosunda Stadium witnessed one of their great nights. Andreas Andersson equalised. 2 minutes later, with England wobbling on the ropes, Johan Mjällby delivered the knockout blow. England, frustrated and outfought, ended with 10 men after Paul Ince was sent off. Stuck in the football wilderness for 4 years, Sweden were back. They'd set the group-winning standard.
We were behind, but we turned the game around to win 2-1. That, I think, was very important. It gave us a sign that we could do well, and it gave us energy and confidence for the following games.
Tommy Soderberg had replaced Tommy Svensson a year earlier after Sweden's failure to qualify for France. The Svensson era peaked at USA 94, when a well-balanced squad battled their way to the World Cup semi-finals and third place. Swedish players were a valuable commodity. Thomas Ravelli was voted top keeper at USA 94. Eccentric but inspirational, he went on to become the most capped European player of all time. Martin Dahlin was the first black player to appear in a senior game for Sweden. A striker who played most of his club football in Germany, Dahlin excelled in the USA. Rock hard, a fine reader of the game, a knee injury to Jonas Törn disrupted Svensson's plans after America. As did the sudden decline of Thomas Brolin. The babyface playmaker who scored 3 goals at the World Cup finals, fell out of love with football and retired in '98. But many of that squad were young enough to remain part of Soderberg's plans on the road to Euro 2000. He didn't have to do much tinkering with his defence. A back four of Roland Nielsen, Patrick Andersson, Joachim Björklund and Pontus Kamark possess well over 250 caps between them. If fit, there's no replacing the star of Swedish football, Henrik Larsson. An up-and-coming striker at USA 94, he now fills the role of talisman and goalscorer. In a side not over-blessed with flair, Larsson's recovery from a broken leg will be crucial. It was at Feyenoord in Holland that the dreadlock striker made his first real impression in club football. Like most ambitious Swedish players, he knew the need to broaden his horizons was essential. When the Dutch coach Wim Jansen took Larsson to Glasgow Celtic in 1997, his profile really began to soar. Overshadowed by their rivals Rangers for nearly a decade, Celtic won their first league title in 10 years. A triumph masterminded by Jansen's tactics and stunningly capped by Larsson's goals. The critics, the fans, his fellow players loved him. Larsson was voted Player of the Year, Writers' Player of the Year, and the Swedish accolade inevitably followed. This season, his absence has severely damaged Celtic's season. The good news for Sweden is that his recovery is much better than first feared. And in qualifying, Larsson underlined his importance and his happy knack of making the most of chances. In Bulgaria, it was Larsson who coolly made sure Sweden followed up their win over England with another 3 points.
I think we're a good side collectively. How do you say? And we work for each other, and I think that's the biggest assets we got.
Larsson's team emphasis is not surprising. Discipline and a straightforward zonal defence are Soderberg's foundations. Only then can finesse express itself.
We don't really talk about individuals, but of course it's an advantage having players who can do the unexpected. For example, Fredrik Lundberg when he scored against Poland, or his clever pass to Henrik Larsson in Bulgaria. These players are important.
If you look at Ljungberg in the midfield, plays for Arsenal, is a tremendous player. I mean, pace, skills on the ball, can score goals as well.
2 years ago, Freddie Lundberg was a little-known talent jobbing along in the Swedish First Division. Then he helped provincial club Halmstad to the Swedish League title. But it was that match against England that really saw Lundberg make his mark. Floating behind the Swedish strikers, his pace and trickery caused real problems. Within weeks, he joined English Premier League giants Arsenal for £3 million. And now the Swedish shirts really fits. If Larsson is the Swedish pin-up, Lundberg's not far behind. His all-action promptings have been allied to several crucial goals. This one away to Poland took Sweden 5 points clear of England during qualifying and to the brink of Euro 2000. Soderberg's team were holding their nerve.
When I first saw the group, I thought it would be a very, very difficult group for us to go through, at least for the first spot. But I mean, we have played very well. I think more or less every game.
Now, do you know, what was Sweden the first European country to use? Wrapping paper, paper money, or toilet paper? The answer, and you should make a note of this, paper money.
Almost unbeatable. That was Magnus Hedman on the road to Euro 2000. In 8 games, he conceded just 1 goal to England in that first game, underlining why he's Sweden's #1 choice at football.
I could have been an ice hockey star, I think. No, I was playing ice hockey until I was 15, 16 years old. Struggled to pick what kind of sport I wanted to do. Well, as we all understand, I picked football, but I was quite promising in ice hockey.
Hedman's biggest achievement is that Sweden has almost forgotten about his predecessor Thomas Ravelli, the record-breaking national icon. But Tommy Soderberg always had full confidence in his keeper. When Hedman was taking his first steps in the professional game at AIK Stockholm, Soderberg was his boss.
He's a great coach to have around. He's getting everybody going for the big games. He's getting everybody to aim for the same target, same goals. So I'd say that he's one of the best you can have.
Like the majority of the Swedish squad, Hedman now earns his living abroad. He's at Coventry City in England, where the pace and demands of the Premier League have improved his game considerably. As he underlined, ironically, to England's cost.
I remember my first game against Tottenham, and I mean, Tottenham weren't the top side at the moment, but I found it so quick, the game, and I said to myself, how am I going to cope with this? But it's a thing of getting used to.
But life on a personal level is easier abroad than at home. Hedman is one half of Sweden's biggest celebrity couple. His wife Magdalena Graf is a chart-topping pop star. It's tough at the top.
Being here for me is like holiday, really. Going back to Sweden, you all of a sudden everybody looking at you, and there's a lot of things in the papers and press.
That extracurricular pressure only increased Hedman's focus when it really mattered. Sweden's 5th qualifier, a 0-0 draw in England, was the defining moment.
We were 5 points ahead of them before the game at Wembley, and we said that England are the favourites. And that was sort of like taking the pressure off from us and putting it on to the opponents, and that's been working well for us.
Hedman knows the real test is ahead. And even if their defence is at its best, have Sweden the finesse, the style, to win games at Euro 2000? Nicholas Alexandersson was one of the new, younger breed of attackers to make his presence felt during the qualifiers. Quick, alert, and with an eye for goal, he became a regular in Soderberg's first 11. But 10 goals from 8 games illustrates how Sweden had to grind out results. After all, they only managed 3 in their 2 wins over Luxembourg, hardly the devastating stuff of potential European champions. Counter-attacking will be their preferred style, along with the direct routes via Bologna's giant striker Kenneth Andersson, another old boy from USA 94. But Andersson, like Sweden, will badly need Henrik Larsson to be fit and ready.
Obviously it's a big blow because he's a great player and a good teammate, a good guy to have in the squad. If he's not there, he's not there. We just have to, we have to put someone else in.
Sweden won't be the most spectacular side at Euro 2000, but that doesn't mean they won't be one of the most successful.
You need some luck, and you need that everyone is in top form. So if everyone's at their best, I think we can do very well. But as I said, it's a hard tournament.